Oh, it's about somewhere around 290, isn't it? It's yeah, 290.
Okay, perfect.
Not
For those that want to read it, it's to page 290. Haribo.
We're doing verse 3 today and then verse 4 tomorrow. Is that it?
yes, correct, Maharaj.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to start singing and then someone can DJ. Namami Swaram Sachidananda Rupam Lasat Kundalango Kule Brajamanam Namamishwaram Sachidananda Rupam Kule Brajamanam Yashoda Biyoluka Ladha Dava Paramrishya Tanto Dritai Gopya Namamishwaram Sachidananda Rupam Lasat Kundalango Kule Brajamanam Rudham Tamunetram Yugmam Rijantam Karambhojayugamena Satakanetram Muhuswasakamba Trirekharakanta Stitagrevadamoda Rambhakti Bandam Namamishwaram Sachidananda Rupam Lasat Kungo Kule Brajamana Iti Drikta Salilabhir Ananda Kunde Swagoshani Majantam Akyapayantam Tadiye Sita Jeshu Bhakti Jitavam Puna Premata Satavritavande Namamishwaram Sachidananda Rupam Kule Brajamanam Varam Deva Moksham Namokshavadiva Nachanya Virayam Varasadapiha Idam te vupurnatha Gopala Balam Sada me manasyavi Statam kimanye Namamishwaram Sachidananda Rupa Lasat Kundalango Kule Brajamana Idam te mokho bojamavyaknile Vritam ta kuntalite snagda shugopya Muchachatimba bimba rakshapayame Manasya virasam alam lakshalambe Namo Deva Damodarananta Vishnu Prasida Prabhu Dukha Jalabdha Magya Kripa Drishti Vrishyati Dhainama Bhatu Kriya Shema Maja Eva Akshi Drishya कुबेरा मजो भतो भूल मुते याद त्वामोचा भक्ति भजो कृतो यछो तथा प्रेम भक्ति स्वकमे प्रयाचे नामोक्षे ग्रामो स्थिति दामोदरे नम नमस्ते स्तुदाम्ने स्फुरदीप्तिदाम्ने Diyodarayata Vishwasya Dhame Namo Radhikaye Tvadiya Priyaye Ilaya Devaya Tumbe He Namo Radhikaye Tvadiya Priyaye नमो राधिकाय त्वदीया प्रियाय नमो नंत लीलाय देवाय तुम्बे नमो नंत लीलाय देवाय तुम जय राधा दामोदर राधे हरि बोल निताय गौरा हरि बोल निताय गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौरा हरि बोल निताय गौरा प्रमानंद
Hari Bol. Hari Bol. Jai Shishi Guru Garanga Gan Havaka Girib Hari. Radha Binod Vihari Ju Ki Jai. Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astotar Zara Shishimat. Shila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astotar Zara Shishimat. Shila Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Maharaj Goswami Ki Jai. Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astotar Zara Shishimat. Shila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Shila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Param Gurudev Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasdara Shishimat Shila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Jagat Guru Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasdara Shishimat Shila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Paramahamsa Mahabhagavat Shila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Saptam Goswami Shila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Shila Baladev Vidyabhushan Gaudi Parantaracharya Ki Jai. Jai Rasik Siromani Shila Vishnath Chakravarti Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Narottam Srinivas Shyamananda Prabhu Treya Ki Jai. Jai Shila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami Ki Jai. Jai Shri Rup Sanatan Shibata Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhattadasa Raghunath Sat Goswami Prabhu's Ki Jai. Jai Swarup Damodar Rai Ramananda Gauda Parsad Ki Jai. Namacharya Shila Hardas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sika Hosi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Shri Gauda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Antadvip Mayapur Simantadvip Gaudramdvip Madhyadvip Koladvip Ritudvip Janadvip Modamdvip Rudadvip Apata Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Bhadravan, Bandiravan, Belvan, Lokavan, Mahavan, Madhuvan, Talvan, Kamudvan, Bahulavan, Vrindavan, Padyavan, Kamyavan, Brajamandal Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopiko Govardhan Dwarasavar Matika Shri Brajamandal Ki Jai. Shamakund Radha Kund Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Punamasi Devi Yogamaya Maharani Ki Jai. Ganga Jamuna Devi Maharani's Ki Jai. Brinda Devi Maharani Ki Jai. Gopeshwar Mahadev Ki Jai. Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra Ki Jai. Ketramandal Ki Jai. Sarva Vigna Vinasakari Shina Shingadev Bhagavan Ki Jai. Bhakta Prabha Sri Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai. Charidam Ki Jai. Chari Sampradaya Ki Jai. Chari Acharya Ki Jai. Akara Mat Raj Shri Chaitanya Mat Ki Jai. Shri Keshav Ji Gaudiya Mat Ki Jai. Grantaraj Shrimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Samagata Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gauda Prindande Hari Hari Bol. Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha. Vipasindavevacha. Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah.
Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Gora Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Vanaiti Namine Namo Vishnu Padaya Radhikaye Priyatmane Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayaniti Namine Namo Vishnu Padaya Shri Keshava Priyatmane Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Vamaniti Namine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Vancha Kalpa Tarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Vaeva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Bol. I want to offer my Dandavat pranams to Sripad Bhaktivedanta Vaikanas Maharaj and Sripad Bhaktivedanta Tridandi Maharaj, to all of the listeners, and probably should have beforehand offered my Dandavat pranams to our entire Rupa Nuga Guru Varg. And so thank you everyone for attending. Today is another rest day, and we are talking about the 4th verse of Sri Damodarastakam. Is it the 4th? No?
Third verse.
Third. Okay. The schedule is wrong. Well, okay.
On to the third verse today. We've done 2. So
Yeah,
after 2.
yeah. No,
I'll change your schedule.
I completely see that. It just says 4 in the. We need to work out where we're going to fit the extra verse. But yes, we're talking about verse 3. Hari Bol, I will hand over to you, Tridandi Maharaj. Dandavat pranam.
Thank you, Tarunji. Thank you, Tarunji. Thank you, Yashodhari, for your beautiful kirtan. Very nice. Thank you. Thank you. Gurave Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha. I'm offering my Dandavat pranams to my most beloved Gurudev Nityalila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimat Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again, millions and millions of times, unto the lotus feet of our most beloved Nityalila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimat Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And again to all our divine Rupa Nuga Guru Varg and all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my Dandavat pranams to everybody. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhuvevacha, Patitanam Papnibhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha. So yes, we've arrived at the 3rd verse of our Damodarastakam. And yesterday on our parikrama, we went to Gokul. So again today, we've crossed over the river and we were coming to Gokul again, where this wonderful pastime takes place. Yesterday, we described how Parajanya and his whole family, his whole tribe, they traveled and Rishabhanu Maharaj across the Jamuna and settled in this forest of Mahavan. In the forest of Mahavan is the village of Gokul and Raval. The name Braja means to move about. So when you have millions of cows, you have to move around in order that they find grazing grounds. So this is why they move around. So for them to make that journey from Nandagaon to Gokul to Mahavan was just like a regular occurrence, so to speak. But now we are in Gokul again, and we're hearing this incredible pastime of this Damodarastakam. It's very interesting in this pastime. There is like the Leela, the actual pastime of Krishna breaking the yogurt container and spilling all its ingredients, and Mother Yashoda catching him, etc. And then there's the dynamic within the actual pastime itself that Satyabrat Muni reveals to us. So Satyabrat Muni, in his Astakam, he opens the Astakam with his Mangalacharyan in the first line of the first verse, Namam Ishwaram Satchidananda Rupa. And we've described already how this first line, it's the Tattva Siddhanta for the whole of the palace of this Leela to rest upon. And the second line goes straight into the Leela in the first verse, that Krishna is running and the earrings are kissing his cheeks. They're rubbing on his cheeks. So we come straight into the pastime. And then this first verse is describing extensively the pastime, just like the picture we've just seen, where Mother Yashoda is able to catch Krishna from behind. So this is part of the Leela, but there's also a definite mood that the sadhak has to appreciate, that he has to run faster than Krishna in order to connect in his relationship with him. So this is all described in the first verse. And the second verse, we have Krishna, he's rubbing his hands, Rudantam Muhur Netra, in his eyes, and either producing tears or clearing the tears that are already there. So we've come through these two verses, and these two verses are described as mantra mayi. They're a mood of single Leela, singular Leela of the pastime directly itself. Only the Leela that of Mother Yashoda capturing Krishna and about to bind him. But now in the third verse, iti drik sva lilabhya ananda kunde swagosham nimarjantam akyai payantam. We come into pools of nectar, this ananda kunde. This is another dynamic, so to speak, within this Damodarastakam. So now this is called Swarasiki Upasana. Now this is when many, many pastimes are going to be described or going to come to mind simultaneously. And this Swarasiki Upasana, as we've described previously, is actually considered superior to Mantramayi Upasana, when spontaneously more and more pastimes roll through the consciousness as we're chanting. So on the one hand, we have the pastime, the direct pastime of Krishna breaking the pot. And on the other hand, we have the journey of the sadhak and his relationship with Krishna. So it's like two considerations are going on simultaneously, because as we've described before, this whole Astakam is escalating in its moods, in its ultimate bhav. So today I'm just going to very briefly go through these 8 verses to give us some context of where we're going, and then I'll come back to this third verse. So in this third verse, we're going to hear many leelas, because within the third verse is described this Ananda Kunde, this kund, this blissful kund, which has no shoreline and no depth, no, what do you call? Bottom, huh? No, there's no bottom to the shore. There's no, it's fathomless. You can't reach the extent of its unlimited, infinite. So this is the reality. These pastimes are unlimited, which is why every single year we go over them with such great relish, because every single year we're swimming in new areas of appreciation for this pastime that we've never really considered previously. This is the nature, the dynamic of it, because it's without shoreline. It's without what we call the limit on the bottom of it, completely. So this is the nature of pure love itself. And especially in this pastime, we're going to see at the very end, after the twin Arjun trees have crashed, and Nanda Baba, he's decided to punish Mother Yashoda for binding Krishna It doesn't matter what Krishna did, Nanda Baba is completely solid on the side of Krishna. So he's not going to speak to Mother Yashoda for the rest of the day. And the whole of Braj is getting immersed in this mood that now Nanda Baba, he's not speaking to Queen Yashoda, and Krishna's, I mean, that's all they're thinking about, all the inhabitants all day long. What is happening between Mother Yashoda and Krishna and Nanda Baba? And they're all feeling this pain of separation that Krishna is making by staying separate from Mother Yashoda when she's weeping and she wants to embrace him. So this is involving everyone in Braj. All of Braj are falling into this pool of bliss, this Ananda Kunde, this blissful pool, and it has no limit to it, because the extremity of their affection and attraction for Krishna ultimately has no limit. That's how it's eternal. It's an eternal pastime. It's always, it's not nitya in the sense that it's not going on in Prakat Lila or Aprakat Lila. It's going on here in Prakat Lila, in Boma Vrindavan, but it's going on from one universe to the next universe, to the next universe, to the next universe, constantly. We understand that there are unlimited billions of universes manifesting from the pores of Karanadakshay Vishnu. So Krishna and his roadshow, we can say, are traveling from universe to universe to universe constantly. But in the actual spiritual realm, this pastime is not considered nitya. It's like an impression that they all have that this pastime took place, but it's not actually taking place. In the spiritual world, it's just the Astakalya Lila, the 8 timefold pastimes of the day, from Nishanta Lila, Prata Lila, Purvana Lila, Madhyana Lila, Apurvana Lila, Syayam Lila, Pradosh Lila, and Ratri Lila. This is nitya. These are eternal pastimes. But this Dambanda Lila is actually considered nimitic. At the same time, it's eternal because it's going on from one universe to the next universe. So understand the distinction here. We could call it nimitic, and we can also call it eternal. Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, in his preface, he refers it to as an eternal pastime. So it is an eternal pastime. At the same time, it's not nitya within the spiritual world. Understand? So there's a distinction here, just to appreciate. So this third verse is just immersing us in various leelas. Actually, my Gurudev describes 12 leelas in his commentary. There's 12 pastimes that my Gurudev describes. Now we come to the fourth verse afterwards. As I say, I'm just going to scroll through quite quickly to the end and then go back to the third verse. So in the fourth verse, this is a pivotal verse, because now Satyabrat Muni, the poet, we can say, who is scribing this immaculate Astakam, he is opening out and confessing that he doesn't want Navada Bhakti. He doesn't want moksha. He doesn't want liberation. He doesn't want any of these benedictions that normally, previously, traditionally, until Mahaprabhu appears, were the only benedictions that people would want. Before Mahaprabhu appeared, historically, coming from Swayambhuva Manu, the first Manu in the day of Lord Brahma, there's 14 Manus. In the first Manu, the Yuga Dharma was one of austerities and tapasya in order to achieve service to Parameshwara or Vaikuntanath, these great personalities, the supreme personality of God. There was no Madhurya Ras. It wasn't on the map until it was exposed. First of all, Krishna had to come and perform his Madhurya Leela in the 7th Manvantara. So prior to the 7th Manvantara, there was no Madhurya Leela that was exposed to the consciousnesses of the living entities here. It wasn't there. How could it be? Krishna didn't manifest his Vrindavan pastimes previous to this 7th Manvantara. And it's only in the 27th, was it 27th or 28th? 28th Dwarpa Yuga at the end. So Prior to that, there was no manifestation here of this Madhurya. It was simply Aishwarya. Everything was Aishwarya from top to bottom. So it's a huge quantum shift of consciousness to actually come into this very sacred, intimate, special world of pure love. It's a huge shift. And Satyabrat Muni, he's taking us through this step by step by step. And we've come into this fourth verse, and he says he doesn't want moksha. He doesn't want Vaikuntha Bhav. He only wants Rag Marg. So this is remarkable how he's been inspired in his heart to simply want this Rag in the form of Balagopal, because he's had this revelation gifted to him within his heart. He's seeing this pastime. This wasn't described previously. How could it be described previously? It didn't happen previously. It wasn't happening in this day of Lord Brahma. Who would have access to it? You understand? It's only when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appears, and he appears to describe to us today who was Krishna in Vrindavan, in Brajalila. Otherwise, we wouldn't know at all. Today, we wouldn't know unless Mahaprabhu appeared. Up until Madhavendra Puripad began to unpack or unfold the moods of Bhav. And then Ishwara Puripad, of course, continued that. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself opened that treasure box completely. But prior to that, this wasn't here. It wasn't exposed. It's eternal, but still it wasn't exposed to the entities of the different ages. It wasn't here. When we see the history, so to speak, from Satya to Treta to Dwapara to Kali, we see the different forms of meditation, etc. And Raganuga Bhakti wasn't there until this Kali Yuga, until now, which is always remarkable to appreciate. And this accentuates how much indebted we are to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu entirely, and how utterly fortunate we are to have taken birth at this particular time when it's like showering these truths of Rag Marg. It wasn't there previously. So Satyabrat Muni, he's rejecting the idea of Vaikuntha Bhakti or moksha, and he's only focusing on the beautiful form of Balagopal. And then now it increases again, it's intensifying. So the whole dynamic of this astakam is one of increased intensity. This is the nature of the sadhak's journey, the sadhak's sadhana. It has to increase in intensity. And how does that intensity increase? Simply by taking shelter of Sri Nam. If we genuinely, sincerely take shelter of Nam, the power, the potency of Nam is going to generate this intensity within the consciousness of the sadhak every single time. If we're not able to chant more than 16 rounds a day, we're not going to be able to really progress into the depths of the speciality of the sweetnesses described about this Madhurya realm. It's just going to evade us. We're not going to be able to have an experience of it or taste it. But if we take shelter of Nam, if we drink quantities of that Nam, it will give us that eternal connection. We'll wake up. What's that? Krishna Prem? Jisita Krishna Prem? Sadhya Kabinoy? Shravanadi? Sudachita? Korya Kabadoy. That this is an internal truth residing in the heart of the jiva. And it's not woken up by our sadhana, but by our sadhana is the effort that we make to achieve the kripa, to actually wake up that consciousness in our hearts. So Satyabrat Muni, he's rejecting moksha, and we come to the 5th verse, and this intensity has increased. Now he doesn't just want to see the form of Balagopal, he wants to see the face of Balagopal. So it's an increasing dynamic. It's always this increasing dynamic that the sadhak personally is concerned with in his journey to connect with the Supreme. Prem itself has to be increasing. the dynamic of love itself, to be real love, has to be increasing. I said yesterday how it's not static, it's ecstatic. It has to be moving to be real, to be considered tangible, so to speak. So then after the 5th verse, he concludes, and this 5th verse is also opening out about this Vatsalya Prem, this relationship between Mother Yashoda and Krishna is so extraordinary and extreme. And when we start to appreciate this rasa of Vatsalya, the love that Mother Yashoda has for Krishna, we've been hearing these past. Yesterday we went to Brahmandgam, and Shripad Vaikanas Maharaj was explaining it so beautifully how Mother Yashoda is gazing into the mouth of Krishna and seeing all the universes, but the power of her Vatsalya Bhav pushes any thought of Aishwarya away, and she maintains, this is my Lala, this is my son, under all circumstances. So this is extraordinary to really consider this power of her love to push away any type of mystical or Aishwarya consideration. It's really extraordinary. That's how strong her love. And Nanda Baba is not as strong as Mother Yashoda, but his love also is there. And then we come into the 6th verse, and Satyabrat Muni here is appreciating that only by Sankirtan Ras can I achieve this goal. This Namo Deva Damo Dharananta Vishnu. He goes through all these different names of the Lord. He's calling out. This is his Sankirtan. This 6th verse is like Sankirtan Ras. And he's connecting through. He understands he can only connect through Sankirtan. So this is not described in the Leela, so to speak. I said at the beginning, the Leela and the dynamic of this Astakam are different. The Leela is just the pastime. But within the pastime, there are these extraordinary threads of consideration or truths that the sadhak can catch up to move forward in this direction of tasting Braja Prem. You understand? Is it clear what I'm saying? Is it clear? And then in the 7th verse, there's the consideration of Nalagriva and Nalakuvera and Manigriva, these two reprobates, and how the grinding mortar breaks the trees. And this is like the crescendo, so to speak, of the whole pastime. And again, we refer to this 3rd verse of this Ananda Kundev, because when those trees drop, Nanda Baba comes, releases Krishna, takes him to the Goshala, begins to ignore Mother Yashoda, and the whole atmosphere is just building, 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 building. Will Krishna come back to Mother Yashoda? How is Mother Yashoda going to feel? All of these feelings that are being churned very powerfully by this pastime. So this is extraordinary. And then we come into the 8th verse, and we even start to reference the rope and the belly of Krishna now. So again, we've come back to the Leela. But in what sense? We've come back to the Leela to describe the absolute ecstasy that Satyabrat Muni is experiencing to such a degree where now he even chants the name of Radhika. Now he's coming to an appreciation of who has that topmost love for Krishna, even higher than Yashoda Gopi. It is Radhika. So he's gone through this whole like step-by-step stage, bringing us to an appreciation of Sri Radhika with the strength of the Leela in the background. Understand? It's like two separate considerations going simultaneously. The Leela and the Astakam are going through together. So that's a very brief overview of the dynamic of the Astakam. Now I want to begin to read from Sanatana Goswami's appreciation of this verse, this 3rd verse. Iti triksva lilapya ananda kunde swagosham nibijantam akyai payantam tadi yeshi jesha bhaktiya chitavam tvam puna prematas tvam satavriti vande. By his childhood pastimes, such as this Dam Bandana. He perpetually drowns all the residents of Gokul, his gopas, gopis, cows, calves, and so forth, who are all manifested by his pastime potency. In pools of bliss, he thus informs those who have knowledge of his absolute divinity that only the pure and simple love of these devotees can conquer him. Again, hundreds of times I offer loving obeisances unto Damodar Krishna. This is the real topic of this purport, is that Sanatana Goswami describes anyway, that he doesn't go into so much in the Leela. It's only a brief 3-page commentary, but he's talking about this distinction between Aishwarya Bhav and Madhurya Bhav. Those who have the Sthai Bhav that are already in Madhurya, they can control Krishna by their affection. And those who have this Aishwarya Bhav, they cannot fully control Krishna. So who controls Krishna the most is the gopis, of course, and their rati is described as samartha, which means having the ability to control him. But what about Uddhav? He's considered to be one of the topmost. What about Hanumanji? He's also considered to be such a great devotee of Ram, yet still he has this Aishwarya. He can't wrestle with Ram. He can't eat off the same plate with Ram. What is the nature of his prem? In fact, it's not this Madhurya. It's not the same. And Uddhav also, he's described as a prem artur bhakt. In the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, there are 5 types of bhaktas. There's Prahlad to begin with. He's a jnani bhakta, because he sees just the Aishwarya aspect of the Lord. Then there's Ambarish, who's described as having, he's not a siddha, he's a sadhak, but yet the degree of his attraction and submission to Krishna is impeccable, but still he doesn't have that Braja Prem. It's still Aishwarya. He's the emperor of the world and he's worshipping Krishna. And so the pastime of Ambarish is divine. And then there's Hanumanji, that Premi Bhakta. And then there's the Pandavas, Para Prem Bhaktas. They also serve Krishna very intimately. But it's not that they can just be familiar in any way with Krishna. They don't have that familiarity which intimacy allows. When you're very intimate with someone, you can have that familiarity with them. And Uddhav himself, he also doesn't have that extreme intimacy. He has such a close, special relationship with Krishna, but it's in Dwarka, it's in Mathura. It's not with the backdrop of Braj. So Krishna sends him to Braj to witness the height of the gopis' prem, the height of the Brijbasis' prem. And Uddhav realizes that he can't access that himself, but he just appreciates it himself. So he can take that essence back to Dwarka and educate Dwarkavasis, the Yadus, in the love of the Brijbasis for Krishna. So this is what Krishna had planned. This is what he wanted. But now in Braj, this Madhurya reigns supreme. So I want to read this commentary starting on page 55 of the Damodar Leela book. So Sri Satyabrat Muni begins this verse with Iti Drikswa Lilavya to establish his worshipful Lord's unique glory. So Satyabrat Muni is praising the Lord, his glory. He accomplishes this by illustrating his wonderful character. In this verse, iti is used to mean like this. Thus he begins like this by his bhakta vashyata. In this way, he reiterates that it is Sri Krishna's nature to come under the control of his devotees, but his Madhurya devotees, his Premi devotees. Alternatively, iti means by this Damodar Leela and iti drishpa cha, by his supremely enchanting, extraordinary childhood pastime, like Damodar Leela, he is immersing all the residents of Gokul in great bliss. So they're already blissful, but he takes them to higher and higher and higher degrees of their loving, blissful relationship with him. Sambandha is the first aspect of our journey to appreciate our relationship with Guru, with our whole Guru Varga. And Sambandha is this relationship between the residents of Braj, between Krishna and Mother Yashoda, Krishna and the Gopas, Krishna and his father, etc. All these personalities revolve around relationships. It's the relationships which ultimately reveal that Hladini taste, that bliss will manifest through those relationships. He is immersing all the residents of Gokul in great bliss. The addition of swa in the phrase swa lilabhya conveys the greatness of his own pastimes, or it conveys the uncommon excellence of the playfulness of his pastimes. This has been described in Srimad Bhagavatam in statements such as the following: Gopi bi stobita nityad, Bhagavan balava kvachit, udgayati kvachin mugdas tadvarsho duro yantravat. The gopis would encourage Krishna to dance in various ways. They would clap their hands and say, if you dance, we will give you a laddu. Although Krishna is Bhagavan, the supreme omnipotent Godhead, and the master of all opulences, baby Krishna would dance for them like an innocent human child. Sometimes they would tell him to sing, and like an ordinary bewildered child, he would sing for them. Enchanted by them, he would become like a wooden puppet in their hands, completely controlled. Completely controlled. Conversely, in Aishwarya Gyan, of course, there is no sense of that whatsoever. We read in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita when Lord Narayan is there with Lakshmi Dev, everything is completely in an ordered, controlled way. There's no mood to control Krishna. There's no desire for them. They're just relishing that worship mood. It's a huge quantum shift. It's like, for example, in our own experiences, we've all experienced Prabhupada. He taught us that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God. Emphatically, we all bowed down to him, we all worshiped him. And he taught us relentlessly that Krishna is that Supreme Personality of God. And then after 20, 25 years, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj began to give us a different light and say, actually, he's only the Supreme Personality of Godhead if you're outside of Braj. But please come into Braj and realize that the sweetness of Krishna in Braj. And in Braj, he's not Krishna. In Braj, he's Brajendra Nandan, Shyam Sundar. Mother Yashoda can bind him. This is the Leela that we're talking about. This is remarkable to consider all these different points in relationship to praying, to our advancing connection with the Lord. This is what this whole pastime is about, advancing our own connection with the Supreme Lord and our appreciation for this he's allowing himself to be controlled to such a degree where he can actually he doesn't want to be bound. We've already discussed. His Aishwarya Shakti is protecting him from being bound. And yet finally, because of his own Karuna Shakti, he allows himself to be bound by Mother Yashoda. And then it's saying, it was in sole reference to the above statements of Srimad Bhagavatam that Sri Satyabrat Muni said Sri Krishna causes Swagosham, his own kin, the residents of Gokul, to be totally submerged, Nimajantam, in a nectarian and incredibly deep pool of extraordinary happiness, Ananda Kunda. That is the indication of this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. Swanam Pritam Samudraham. He thoroughly arouses deep love in his own dear kin. So this is what this Astakam is about at this juncture, at this third verse. And then he goes on further to describe, in order to further describe the extraordinary qualities of Sri Bhagavan, Sri Satyabrat Muni then says, by these pastimes, Sri Krishna is making it known, Akayam Pantam, Yantam, to all who are Tadiya Ishita, Jesu, who worship him as the supreme controller and the master of all souls, that he is himself controlled and defeated by the love of his pure devotees. Bhaktiya Jitavam. In other words, Krishna is declaring, I willingly become controlled by my bhaktas alone, who are intent on serving me with pure devotion. I am never controlled by those who are inclined to worship me while considering my supreme position and opulence. So we've heard this in our Chaitanya Charitamrita. We said the other day in this Adi Lila chapter 4, it's saying Aishwarya Janes Sabha Jagat Mishrita Aishwarya Stila Prem Nahi Mora Prito. All the universe is filled with knowledge of my majesty, but love weakened by that sense of majesty doesn't control me. So this Braj Prem has the capacity to control Krishna. And that is what our Guru Varga is directing us in this direction, to reawaken our original relationship with the Lord. And ultimately, as a sadhak, we will have that ability to control the Lord by our love. So this is many lifetimes ahead, but still we're setting our compass, so to speak. We're setting our direction of where we're going. This is how my Gurudev used to describe it. And then it's describing that Bhagavan Sri Krishna showed the community of those who know about his supreme position that he only remains under the full control of his loving servants. Only his loving servants he's controlled by. Not controlled by anything else. So now it's describing, Sanatana Goswami personally explains the above statements of Bhagavatam as follows. Here the word tad, about that or about him, is connected to Sri Krishna's position as Bhagavan. And when it is combined with vidam, knowledge of, it becomes knowledge of his position as Bhagavan. Thus the meaning is clear. He is showing darshyams that those who know about his supreme opulence, that he willingly comes under the control of his loving servants. In other words, the original Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna Chandra, is exhibiting that in every respect, he is only controlled by his loving servants in Braj, and among them, he is especially controlled by those in Unnata Ujjvala Ras, the supremely pure humor of Madhurya Ras, transcendental amour. So this is the gift of Mahaprabhu directly. We're hearing this, we're reading this remarkable speciality of Braj, that only by those who are controlled in this Unnata Ujjvala Ras, Mahaprabhu has come to taste Unnata Ujjvala Ras, but he's come to give us service to that Unnata Ujjvala Ras. Anapita chirim chirat kurunavatanokalo samarapaitam Unnata Ujjvala Ras Swa Bhakti Shriyam. This Swa Bhakti Shriyam is the gift of Mahaprabhu. So Mahaprabhu himself, he's given us the process of Nam, and he's given us the direction through the empowerment of Srila Rupa Goswami to present all these truths to us, to see the nature of Rag Marg, and he's given us even Guru in so many forms, through the 6 Goswamis, all the way down. Krishna's Kaviraj, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada, Bhakti Vedanta Narayana, all our Guru Varga is directing us, are guiding us into this plane, this area where we can actually access this Madhurya realm in this age. Previously, as I said in the beginning, this was never even there. It wasn't even on the map. It wasn't available. Of course it was there, but it wasn't available to the living entities and jivas of this time. But Mahaprabhu has made it available. And this is why today we're reading it with such beautiful descriptions of this praying because of Mahaprabhu's mercy. So through this commentary, to the end of this commentary, it's explaining the same aspect, that this Aishwarya Gyan can never control Krishna. He's saying he is not controlled by devotees who worship him on the path of Aishwarya Bhakti, which is characterized by the mood of reverence, nor is he controlled by Gyanis, who know him to be the self-sufficient, supremely powerful Lord, nor by those whose Bhakti is mixed with Gyan. And we've described so many times of the special nature and relationship that Uddhav has with Krishna, but yet he doesn't control Krishna in the way that the Brijvasis can control Krishna. He can't wrestle with Krishna. He can't eat off the same plate with Krishna. He wouldn't dream of it. Everything is still most reverential in the etiquette of their relationship. There's no breaching the line of etiquette, even though the friendship is intimate and sweet. But there's a definite demarcation line, we can say, of Aishwarya. So it's not going to completely control Krishna. Just by hearing about these topics, by appreciating the speciality of this distinction, then we can more appreciate the absolute speciality of this Madhurya praying, of this Braj praying. By hearing these topics like this, then we can see, just like Uddhav saw, the height of this Braja praying. What is this place that we're actually anxious for? What is the relationship that I'm anxious to have with Krishna in Vrindavan? What is the nature of that? And even within the gopis, there is speciality of their connection with Krishna. We have what is called tadiya bhav and madhya bhav. Madhya bhav means that Krishna is mine, like the swapaksh. Tadiya means that I am yours, Krishna. I will do whatever you say. There's a distinction here in the height of the praying. When the devotees appreciate these different distinctions of the praying, then the most elevated praying of Sri Radhika and her swapaksh becomes so much accentuated. And then we can appreciate it more and more by these distinctions. So this is how this is being mapped out here to show us these distinctions. This is because bhakti is especially This is because bhakti, and especially its glories, are very confidential, so he does not reveal it to everyone. It is inappropriate to explain it to anyone who is not specifically acquainted with the exalted glories of the Vaishnavas. You can't explain these topics to people who are not devotees or not practicing. They can hear the Leela, they can hear the pastime, they can appreciate to some degree. But we are in an assembly of Vaishnavas here, so I thought it was appropriate to open these truths as much as we're capable of doing for our reflection and chewing over, we can say. And who is only interested in impersonal knowledge. This is the non-devotee. From this perspective, the previously cited verse should be interpreted by connecting vidam with britya vasyate. Thus, the general meaning of tad vidam, those who know Sri Krishna's supreme position, becomes britya vasyata vidam, those who know that Sri Krishna willingly comes under the control of his loving servants. So that's his supreme condition. His supreme Aishwarya is his ultimate glories, but his supreme mood is that he allows his servants to control him. Therefore, Sri Satyabhat Muni prays, overwhelmed with incomparable pure loving devotion for you, I offer you, Vandanam, my prayers of adoration hundreds of times. To you, the Supreme Lord, I offer Vandanam again and again. Thus, in this verse, the sage wishes to say, among the limbs of bhakti, which are required for all devotees, I only pray to perform one special limb of bhakti, which is Vandana, which is glorifying the Lord, to constantly express my adoration for Sri Bhagavan. I do not pray for knowledge of Bhagavan's opulence or anything else. So this is a analytical introduction to this verse. And then in my Gurudev's commentary, then it opens out the real sweetness and speciality of this verse. The real sweetness and speciality of this verse is within all the Leelas. The Leelas are like, as we've said many times, the rider of the horse of the Tattva. So this was the Tattva, to appreciate this distinction between Aishwarya Bhav and Gyan, and the speciality of Madhurya Prem, which has the ability to actually control Krishna and even bind Krishna. So in this next commentary by my Srila Gurudev, I'll just read a little bit of it. I think, Vaikanas Maharaj, I have a couple more minutes left. Tara, what is my time frame?
You're in charge of the Parikram Maharaj, so you make
No.
the time.
Don't say that. Don't say that. You show the ears. But I think I've got maybe 1 or 2 minutes.
Who
Just
can stop this flood? You've broken the dam and you're
Yeah.
flooding this. Who can
I'm
stop
just going
this?
to touch on Vaikanas Maharaj's topic, which is the commentary, for just a moment. I just want to
It's all right.
introduce, because this is the sweetness that you've got. I got the sort of beginning part, but you've got the sweet part. The
I don't
sweet
know. I'm
part.
inspired to talk from a mechanic perspective now, hearing all this.
No. Well, all right, I'll change that. I'll change that. Let me just read this part. Sri Krishna's pastimes are lakes of inexhaustible bliss, in which he drowns the entire village of Gokul. The village of Gokul is known as Gosh Pali, which refers to the place where all the animals, birds, cows, gopas, and gopis loudly sing the pastimes of Krishna without cessation. It is constantly resounding with the calls of the gopas and gopis. Milk the cows, untie the calves, bring the milk pail, and all is entirely for the pleasure of Gopal. When Sri Krishna became a little bit bigger, he discovered that he could go beyond the doorstep leading out of the house. One day when he and his big brother Balaram went outside, they saw that some bright red flowers had blossomed nearby. However, the flowers were surrounded by a fence of dry, bare thorns. Somehow, they moved the thorny branches aside and went through to pick flowers. Meanwhile, the thorny branches fell back into place, blocking their way out. How will we get out of here? They wondered and burst into tears. Now, these two little boys, this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's trying to pick some flowers and he's got caught in this bush. This is, a Jnani cannot understand that. He can't even go there in his mind. They wondered and burst into loud tears. Mother Yashoda heard the loud sobbing and came out of the house. Finding them trapped, she managed to move the thorny branches to the side and take them out, and scolded them at the same time. She's scolding the Supreme Lord at the same time. So what a contradiction. We live with this in the world. I mean, practically 99.9999% are all worshipping Supreme Lord. And only a few who have been touched by the moods of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are beginning to turn around and trying to accept this Madhurya relationship that ultimately I can reawaken by the mercy of Mahaprabhu. This is what our gurus describe. And then it goes on with so many. Krishna would hold onto the horns of huge bulls and swing on them. Other times he would become astonished when he saw himself reflected in the jewel pillars of his home, and he would even try to speak to that reflection. We spoke that pastime yesterday. So now, as I said at the beginning, there are 12 pastimes that my Gurudev describes here in the rest, because this constitutes this Ananda Kunda, this pools, drowning in the pools of ecstatic bliss of their leelas. So this is this verse, Iti Drikswa Lilabhya Ananda Kunda. We've reached a new stage. So in this consideration of all these leelas, this is called Swarasiki Upasana, when many leelas come tumbling through the consciousness as I scroll through these verses. Okay, I hope I've made some of these things clear. I hope it wasn't too convoluting or anything like that. I tried to stick in the text as much as I can and reflecting on these truths of Sanatana Goswami. So I hope the devotees are benefited to some degree by reading these purports. Srila Gurudev ki jai, Shri Sanatana Goswami Pad ki jai, Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Shri Damodarastakam Shri ki jai, Shri Damodar Leela ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhavevacha, Patitanam Pavanavyo, Vaishnavavyo, Namo Namaha.
Jai. Thank you so much, Maharaj, for sharing such sweetness, for going through the whole Damodarastakam to refresh it if it's not constantly being refreshed in our minds. But that overview was so sweet. And then going deep into this third verse and sharing these confidential understandings of what's really going on. I feel unqualified to hear as you were describing, but it's still so beautiful and so inspiring. So thank you so much. I don't want to talk, I don't want to say anything else in case
I'm unqualified
Vaikanas.
to actually say it, but I was just trying to read it, but I'm not qualified in this sense.
Okay, well, that doesn't give me any hope that I'm qualified to hear it then. I thought maybe I had a chance before you said that. Uh, but I don't want to uninspire Vaikanas Maharaj by talking any longer. So I'm going to hand directly over to him to read the Srila Gurudev commentary and expand upon it. Dandavat pranams.
Okay, Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshunamilitan Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Gurave Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namaha Yam Prabhajantam Manupeta Apeta Krityam Rapayano Varahakatara Ajuhava Putreti Tan Maitaya Taravo Binedus Tam Savabhutam Hridayam Munimanatusmi Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatam Vyasam Tato Jayamudирayat Avatya Vihina Parada Lakshay Kiptashtakamari Tarangamadye Kripamai Tvam Sharanam Prapanna Brinde Namaste Charanada Vindam Tave Vasmi Najivami Tvayavina Iti Vigyaya Radhe Tvam Nayanam Charanandike Vancha kalpatarubhascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So we always begin by offering our most humble obeisance under the lotus feet of our beloved Gurus, unto Sri Guru Pada Padma Nitalita Bhavishta Om Vishnu Pad Asto Talsat Sri Simad Abhaya Charnaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Raj Srila Prabhupada, and the same unto Sri Guru Pada Padma Nitalita Bhavishta Om Vishnu Pad Asto Tarasat Sri Simad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Raj, and our exalted Rupanuga Varga, all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. So, Sri Dani Maharaj said that Sri Dani Maharaj has said that he was going to mostly speak tattva, and then from there we would go into the pastimes. But why do we speak tattva? If the pastimes themselves are the ultimate conclusion, right? And our whole idea is to become immersed in these pastimes, then what's the necessity of understanding or even reading this tattva? It seems like it could get in the way, right? But I was just listening to chapter 34 of the Jaiva Dharma. listening on the audio. Chaitanya Maharaj has a compilation of some of Srila Gurudev's books on audio, and Jaiva Dharma I've listened so many times. And these last chapters, I think from 25 or 26 to 40, are all about Rasa Tattva. And to me, it's largely incomprehensible because there are so many technical Sanskrit words which I don't know. But still, I listen to it, right? And I just heard something this morning where Vijay Kumar, who is by now in the story, attained Srup Siddha Bhakti. He's understood his internal identity. He's been given instructions on how to meditate and serve in internal bhajan. And yet he is still going back to Gopal Guru. And they're discussing Rasa Tattva, and he's asking so many questions. He's got 6 more chapters of questions to ask about this topic. And something that was said today was, I thought, really interesting and relevant, because he said, he was asking a question, and Gopal Guru said, actually, you've already understood this. You're on this level of Bhav Bhakti. But by asking these questions and hearing these discussions, philosophical explanations, you are reinforcing your position, the foundation of your bhakti. So really, these kind of discussions, they never really end. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, Shukadev Goswami is describing to Parikshit Maharaj all these amazing pastimes, but at every stage, from the beginning of the 10th canto all the way to the end, and then in the 11th, he's reaffirming the philosophical support for all of this. And that's not just for the reader who's trying to come to that platform, but it's also for those who are on that platform that's also relishable, described in that way. So the first 9 cantos are all about different incarnations of the Lord and the qualities of the Lord and the nature of bhakti to those incarnations. But from the 10th canto, it very quickly, strongly speaking the idea, the conception of God. Who is God? What is God? And what are his glories? What are his energies? All of that. Prayers by the demigods to the Lord before he appears. And when yesterday we were hearing one of the very first pastimes, which is related to this one, by the way, because his mother Jashoda punishing or threatening to punish Krishna for eating dirt, right? Eating the dust of Vrindavan. And in that, we got a prelude, which really helps us in understanding this pastime, where she had an experience, and that's for her, but it's also for us, really, because this little boy who she's going to be punished, who we might fall into the trap that, thinking him an ordinary person, just like we can't think of Guru as an ordinary person. When we hear these pastimes of Krishna with his mother, with his friends, with the gopis, our tendency, being materially contaminated, is to equate those pastimes with our own. So she's relating with him like any mother would. Show me your mouth then. And he's fearful. And as Chaitanya Maharaj said, why would the Lord be fearful? How does a jnani understand this, right? How do they get trapped in this bush? Even this bush, I thought about that. Generally, when we see pictures of Krishna in this Leela, if you see the picture that we were shown, he's in this very opulent courtyard, right? Very beautiful marble buildings all around the courtyard. Then why do they need this thorny fence made of, this fence made of thorny bushes? In more simplistic villages, like if you go to Indian villages, this is how they make fences. They don't have marble structures. They don't have all this available. They take thorny bushes and they put their cows, they make cow pens out of that to keep the cows in and to keep predators out. Right? So reading that immediately made me think, actually, maybe it's not like what we imagine with all this, sometimes we hear descriptions of the palace of Nanda Maharaj, very opulent, and sometimes we hear descriptions like this. I don't know if it's a mixture or what, I don't know. But why would they have this thorny fence if they have all these palisades and opulent construction everywhere? I don't know. But it makes the pastime sweet and village-like. And Sri Maharaj also said that up until the time of Mahaprabhu, even though these pastimes were heard and narrated, the conception of bhakti that Mahaprabhu revealed through Rupa Goswami, Rasa Tattva, this was not revealed. The pastimes were there. And actually in South India, which is where bhakti was preserved and comes from, because all of our sampradayas originated in South India, even from the beginning of Kali Yuga, the Alvars were there, 12 Alvars, and they are different personalities, incarnations of Krishna, of his paraphernalia, of great devotees. And those who are students of the Alvars' writings and teaching find within them hidden their knowledge and appreciation of Krishna's Leela in Vrindavan. But again, the idea of the rasa, of what we're hearing here, this is not described. And then even later, the different sampradayas. Right? We know from reading the Navadita Mahatmya of Bhaktivinoda Thakur that all of the leaders of the sampradayas, Ramanuja, Vishnu Swami, Nimbaditya, right, Madhvacharya, they all had darshan of Mahaprabhu. They were all given and taught these conceptions that Mahaprabhu came to give, but he told them, don't reveal it. Teach appropriate like you have been doing so far. This is what I want, step by step. Right? Jayadev Goswami, he also saw amazing things. Chandidas, Vidyapati, but the full understanding of the rasa contained within these things. They may have understood it, they may not have, we don't know, but to people in general, broadly, it was not understood, not detected, right? So yesterday we heard that what is the purpose and intent of these pastimes? Remember when Sri Dhanaraj referenced this, that Mother Jashoda, she went through an experience where she saw the majesty of Krishna, and there was even a transformation, momentary transformation, where she even began to question from the position of knowledge, why am I thinking of Nanda Maharaj as my husband? Why am I thinking Krishna as my son? Right? This is all illusion, right? I'm a spirit soul. All this is temporary. Yeah? But even within her conception of illusion, it was still, she was, still thinking, oh, I'm in illusion thinking that Krishna's my son, that Nanda Maharaj is my husband. But her illusion, it's a correct statement, but her illusion wasn't caused by Mahamaya, it was caused by Yogamaya, right? Yogamaya has created the condition by Krishna's desire that I have this mother, that I have this father, that I live in this cowherd village, greater village of Vrindavan and all the forests, right? It's all by Krishna's desire that this takes place for the purpose of experiencing and relishing the pastime. So when Gurudev's commentary, he repeats the information given by Sanatana Goswami, and then he adds some of the pastimes that take place daily. And remember the thing that we read yesterday, which is also included in some of the verses that are being cited here. Remember that even though Mother Jashoda was exposed to the opulence of Krishna, it didn't diminish her love. It couldn't. There was a temporary mood which came about, but it was quickly dispelled by her love, which overwhelmed and flooded any gyan that she may have had at that time. And that was called the Paribhasa Sutra, the kind of sutra or explanation which illuminates everything else that will be described henceforward, right? That we have to understand all these pastimes, not through the vision just of Gyan, because our Gyan is restricted by material intelligence and a material mind, material senses. But we have to envision it through the lens of prema. Now, we can't know that ourselves, but we're being given a taste and an understanding of it. And as we hear and read these pastimes, informed by both sides, then gradually what is meant to happen is an awakening of a desire, deep desire, to give up our material conception, which is false. Our material conception is informed by Mahamaya. Her conception of her identity is informed by Yogamaya. We want to go into that realm, right? That's the realm we want. And hearing these pastimes, and that's why this is so important and so powerful in this month. And that Gurudev would speak about it in detail every month, that Bhaktivedanta Keshav Maharaj felt this was so important, that he had this first translation done of Sanatana Goswami's Tika, right? And that it's in the Bhagavatam, and it's all based on the authoritative verses of the Bhagavatam, right? And so Gurudev wanted this expanded and spoken, because this is the gateway for us, right? That how the residents of Braj live and how they think, right? And this is the topmost conception. So Chaitanya Maharaj already touched on a couple of these pastimes that Gurudev gives. So just one last thing. So the whole point is, yes, we want to hear these pastimes, but we can't neglect the philosophical conceptions. But when you hear the philosophical conceptions from the lips of a Tattvagya Rasik devotee, one who's fully conversant with the Tattva, but also deeply Rasik, then the philosophical explanations become greatly relishable. Like if you go back to Jivadharma once again, over and over, Brajanath and Vijay Kumar, hearing some philosophical description from their gurus, become overjoyed with ecstasy, right? Because within those explanations are so much sweetness and so much ras and so much information about our ultimate objective. You can't separate them. Sambandha Tattva, Abhideya Tattva, and Prayojana Tattva all combined together, right? It's just that when they're informed by ras, then they become of a very different nature, right? And they make it more, the tattva gives us an ability to approach and become eager for the idea of prema. So this one about these two, I was reading this the other day in another place also, how Krishna and Balaram, they would go into the cow pens and they would play with the bulls. Massive bulls. I saw a picture the other day of these Texas Longhorns, right? They've got these horns that are, like 8 feet wide, massive horns. But if you've ever been in India, now they only have about 35 different species of cow. They used to have 135 Deshi cows, and they all have specialities. Some of them are very huge with gigantic horns, and they're used for work, pulling plows, right? Pulling carts. Very special. Gur cows are like that. Big, massive. There are other work cows you see sometimes in Vrindavan. They're like 6 feet at the shoulder, 7 feet at the shoulder, the head going much higher. Huge horns pointing out. In South India, they've got these kinds also that can work all day. They're meant for that. And just an inadvertent swing of their head could knock you over or pierce you. And these boys are fearlessly playing in there. They could be trampled by the horns, by the hooves of these cows. The bulls are sometimes fighting, running here and there. And our little boys, little tender boys, they're in there playing with them. And Mother Shoda, Mother Rohini, they're afraid. And then they grab the horns. And then the bulls lift up the horns, and the boys ride up on those horns, swinging back and forth, laughing, enjoying it like anything. sometimes grabbing hold of a tail of a cow or a calf and then being dragged around by the startled animal as they dragged around the pens. Again, sometimes laughing, sometimes crying, "Oh, mother, mother, help me." Um, their friends, the little cowherd boyfriends, they're enjoying the Rosh, the playful Rosh. The mothers are frightened, right? But what is it? It's simply extraordinary things to exchange love with the cows, with the calves, with their mothers, with their friends, and every emotion is a transformation of praying, right? Another time, and when you hear Gurudev, we've heard him describe these things enough that almost we have like a picture in our mind, right? Mother Jashoda wanted to do a yagya, a little worship. This is what Vaishyas do. They worship the calves, they worship the cows, they worship the brahmanas. Go fetch a calf, a very beautiful small calf, little white one, and we'll worship him. So Krishna went, and he trying to bring the calf over, found a very beautiful one. Calf's resisting. Um, Even little tiny calves are very powerful. I remember one time, one godbrother and me, Mahamuni, he's a big guy, big strong guy. We went out, St. Louis Temple had a farm out in the country. And we were supposed to go out there. We had just recently gone to that temple to assume the management of it, right? And so we wanted to look at all the assets. And most of the devotees were gone, but they still had this one big bull, and a little calf was still there, and some others in the field. And so we were trying to take the calf over to a place. There's a little calf. And we were trying to pull it, and this little thing just dragged the two of us all over the place. We couldn't control it at all. So little Krishna, he's trying to pull this calf, this beautiful white calf with the long ears, right? Those long, beautiful Deshi cow ears, pure, pristine white, beautiful face. Calf's not moving. Krishna's tugging and tugging and pulling, pulling. Finally, he gets to the house. But then just outside the house, he sees hanging, in the ceiling, a pot of butter. And he gets distracted. And that becomes his focus. Why? It's not just the butter. This butter represents the love of the cows that gave the milk, and then the love of Mother Jashoda, who turned it into yogurt, then churned it, made it into butter. It's her prem. It's a special form of vatsalya. And he loves to taste it. He loves to taste it in her house. He loves to taste it in the house of the other gopis, right? Elderly gopis. So his mouth began to water. So here's the calf. I can't reach it. So he climbs onto the back of the calf, and then he can take hold of the pot. And he's reaching in, eating the butter, right? And then all of a sudden, the calf, he was not cooperating before. He sees, oh, now I can escape. And he runs. And all of a sudden, Krishna's hanging there. And his arm is caught in the pot, bent, right? And he's dangling from the ceiling. And he can't get out. He's crying, oh, mother, 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 right? And then Mother Yashoda comes out, right? Sees him, begins to scold him. In another description, Gurudev elaborates a little bit. Oh, look what you've done. I'm just going to leave you here hanging. Why should I rescue you? You're a thief. You're a naughty boy. And Krishna's crying, no, I'm not a thief. No, I won't do it again. Please take me down, take me down. And Mother Jashoda, kind of relishing this, and this teaching lesson, finally agrees to take him down. But once again, remember we heard the other day, naughtiness of a child is something that the mother can really relish. Srila Prabhupada used to say, a naughty child, it's a sign of intelligence, right? That if they're very naughty and they do mischievous things, it's a sign of intelligence, right? And so look what he's done now. Oh God, how did he get up there? And so Vatsalya Prem, right? So another description of the older gopis, Mother Jashoda's friends, right? They'd come every morning. They want to see Krishna also. They run from their own homes. Ordinarily, you'd be quite content to be at home, right? You've got your own children, you've got your husband, got your own duties, but they run to Mother Jashoda's. Everything else can be done by servants. And so they want to see Krishna and Balaram, and they want to see them play. And especially they like to see them wrestle. Because these little boys, boys like that, so some would take the side of Balaram, some would take the side of Krishna, and they'd say, oh, Krishna's stronger. No, 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 Baladev is stronger. Oh, well, let him wrestle. And whoever wins, and then they hold out a lump of butter. What's the reward? Again, Vatsalya, Prem. They'd all churned this butter, and they'd brought their butter, and we'll give this to the winner. And so the boys would be very eager, to taste that love of these gopis. And so they would wrestle. And sometimes Krishna would win, sometimes Balaram would win. Whoever won, those gopis on that side, oh, very good. Our Baladev has won. Give him the butter. Krishna would look, and then Krishna would win. Oh, Krishna, you're so strong. And then he would get some butter, right? Oh, jai, jai, jai. Other times, Krishna, like his friend Madhu Mangal and others, they all like ladus. And Nanda Maharaj carries ladus in his pockets, right? For the occasion, sometimes Krishna may want a ladu. And so the gopis, they would tempt Krishna with a ladu. And when we say ladu, we don't just mean, we generally mean those little chickpea ladus, which are quite nice. But ladu, they come in a lot of versions, and some of them are very, very opulent. Like when you take chickpea flour and you drop it through a colander and it makes little balls and falls into the ghee, bundi, right? Crispy, ghee fried bundi, and mixed with honey and different kinds of roasted nuts and flavors like saffron and camphor and cloves and other dried fruits, sweetened with honey. Oh, incredible, incredible ladus. And so if you would like a ladu, and little children are always hungry, right? And so they hold the ladu up, oh Krishna, Kanaya. Kanaya was a special affectionate name that Mother Jashoda and the gopis would use. If you dance for us, we'll give you this ladu. And the gopis would sing and clap. It's like India today, ladies love to sing together and clap their hands. And they would be singing, and Krishna, very skillful, even though he's a little boy, puts his hand on his waist, puts his other hand up in the air, and he's dancing so artfully. And they're all, oh, completely charmed. Tatai, tatai. Gurudev uses that. Bhaktivinoda Thakur also uses that tatai, that sound of the mridanga, right? Tatai, tatai, bajaloko, gana, gana, tahe janjeraro. Remember that song about Mahaprabhu going out in the morning, chanting the names of the Lord, his own names, to the beautiful sound of the mridanga. So they would create that rhythm, tatai, tatai. And sometimes Krishna would sing his own little song, right? And they would make Krishna dance. Was it the ladu? Well, the ladu is an expression of their love. He would become a puppet under their full control. Again, Prem is that which controls Krishna. And these gopis, these elderly gopis, were immersed in the beauty of Vatsalya Prem. So, other times, they would come and they would ask Krishna, oh, Krishna, bring that wooden seat, right? And so in India, they have these small seats that you can sit on in order to do different chores and tasks. You need to be a little elevated, right? And their darling little Krishna would try to lift a small seat, but he couldn't. He's so little, the seat was just a little too heavy, and they would see him struggling, and that would make them, oh, that sweet little boy, look how hard he's trying, right? Varaha, he lifted the entire earth on his tusks. He lifts Govardhan Hill, right? Earlier, he had killed Putana. right? Who was stronger than 10,000 elephants, we heard yesterday. But he couldn't lift the seat. See, this is a speciality of prem. Again, when Chaitanya Maharaj said that the Lord can't be understood by logic or by mundane reasoning, one of the things that mundane philosophers like to do when they try to discuss the idea of God and omnipotence, because theologians will say God is omnipotent, and they'll say, well, if God is omnipotent, can he make something so heavy that he can't lift it? Because if he can't lift it, he's not God. But if he can't make it, because then he couldn't lift it, then he's not God. So your claim of omnipotence is incomplete. But here we see that by the influence of prem, that same God who not only lifts the earth, but by his expansion, Anantadev is holding up all the universes. Local Anantadev is holding all the planets by his power. Unlimited Anantadev is holding up all the universes. And yet, by prem, he can't lift up the stool. So simultaneously, he's holding up the universes, and at the same time, he's made something that he can't lift either. So unless you understand the principle of agatana gatana shakti, that which makes the impossible possible, the irreconcilable reconcilable, opposites and completely contradictory things reconcilable, right? Combining. That's the only way to understand the Lord. And prem is where you get, by the influence of prem, you can see it, right? The tying up of Krishna by the ropes, he couldn't be tied, no matter how many ropes you brought, because his Shakti, his Aishwarya Shakti, would not let him be tied, because he wanted to go play with his friends. So how this happened, nobody could understand, but it's happening right before their eyes. And then when prem of Mother Yashoda is so powerful, he was easily tied, and tied so tightly that none of his friends could untie him, because the rope was Vatsalya Prem. It was Prem, right? He controls or maintains everything in creation, yet in this verse, he's controlled by the residents of Braj. Gurudev again weaving in the stories and the pastimes to the statements of Satyavat Muni and the statements of Bhagavatam in 10th, 11th chapter, right? Then he also talks about times when he's ordered to bring his father's shoes, right? Putting them on his head. The Lord, generally shoes are considered dirty things, right? You may touch the shoes of your father or your superior, but to put them on your head, this is a very high exhibition of love and respect. And he's putting the shoes of his father on his head, right? Thinking, oh, my father needs these shoes to attend the assembly of the Gopas. And so Gurudev, again, he brings up the same statement that Sanatana Goswami, iti drik svalilabir anandakunde, swa gosham nima janantam, that Sri Krishna's sweet childhood pastimes, an ocean of ras, inexhaustible, no boundary, unlimited, absolutely. And in that, he's not only tasting it himself, he's drowning all the gopas, gopis, cows, calves, and all of Braj in that vast ocean of these pastimes. Because remember, rasa, it has the components, it has all the different experiences and ecstasies that each person will taste according to their sthai bhav, but that which causes it to be tasted always has two parts, the vishaya and the ashraya. Right? Vishaya is the object of love, ashraya is those who have love for that object. So without both, without Krishna and his beloved devotees, there is no ras. And we're understanding something very, very confidential, and secret in this that you don't generally understand by worshiping Lord Narayan. That just as the inhabitants of Vrindavan, they see Krishna as the Vishaya, the object of their love, and they're tasting their own love through that conception of the relationship, Krishna sees them as the Vishaya, and he's the ashraya of love for them. So as they're all experiencing great taste and happiness, and Krishna's also experiencing, that's why he takes this form as a child, because he wants to taste that love in that way. He wants to know what it's like to be a child with a mother. And his own Yoga Maya, he's completely immersed in that identity. They don't know he's God. He doesn't know he's God. Now, Agatana Agatana Shakti will come up so that sometimes he does know. And that will come up and he'll necessarily exercise that awareness. But Braj is that special place where he can roam carefree without any necessity of being burdened by the idea of being God. Krishna and Dwarka is burdened by that. Gurudev explains. He's got so many responsibilities. You know, Jarasanda's coming every year with 20, with 23 akohinis of soldiers, more than were on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. It's coming every year. He's got administration to do, demons to kill, so much responsibility, 16,000 wives to make happy. Everybody trying to come and ask for this, ask for that. Krishna's not a king, he's a prince. He's the son of a king, Nanda. So he's not burdened by those responsibilities. All he has to do every day is go out with the cows and play with his friends, with the cows, with the calves, with the monkeys, with the birds, in the river, imitating frogs, right? Occasionally killing demons, but sweetly and playfully, right? We heard yesterday, again, that even his killing of demons is sweet, right? The Damodarastakam, even his demons, killing them is sweet because he doesn't use weapons, right? Lord Ram and other incarnations, they use swords and different chakras and bows and arrows. Krishna uses his hands and his feet, right? And like Aristasura, he ultimately stomped him to death. Sweetly, though. Heishi, when he came to bite him and eat him, oh, you want to bite me? Eat this. And he takes his little fist and he smashes it into the mouth of Keshi, who is so huge and high, so terrifying. And when he puts his arm in the mouth of Keshi, all Keshi's teeth shatter. And he puts his arm into the throat, expands it, fills the throat. He can't breathe, and it becomes red hot. And then he shakes the demon's thrashing this way and that, right? Trying to get out. He can't breathe. And then he expires and gives up his life, right? And Krishna tossed him aside, but sweetly, because it's his little lotus hand that does it, right? So, Gurudev contrasts. He says, why does Krishna perform these pastimes? Sattva Muni answers the question in relation to Tadiyeshita Geshu, those who always retain knowledge of Bhagavan's supreme position. A Tattva Jnani sees Brajendananda and Sri Samasundar as the source of all incarnations and the essence and ultimate limit of Godhead. They know him as the possessor of six opulences and fullness, all of that. Narad, four Kumaras. They have true knowledge of Krishna's position, actual position. But through these pastimes, Krishna is explaining to them, although I possess the potency to make the impossible possible, I am nonetheless controlled by the residents of Braj. I'm playing here in the mood of an ignorant child. Damodar Leela, supremely charming. Then Gurudev tells the fruit seller pastime. And he goes on to tell some more. We don't have time to tell 10 different pastimes. We've tasted and touched a little bit. But one last thing that Gurudev says, after hearing these different pastimes, he says the fruit seller, she had great determination, resolve. If Krishna doesn't come out, I'll never go back to Mathura. I'll just sit in this spot. And he says, the sadhak, that's us. So here's the teaching lesson in these pastimes. Our resolve, like the fruit seller, should be the same. We should think, day and night I will execute the limbs of devotion as instructed by Sriman Mahaprabhu and Srila Rupa Goswami. With love, I will chant a fixed number of Sri Hari's names and serve Sri Guru and the Vaishnavas. With love. Do you have love? I don't have love, but I try to have love. I pray to have love when I do these activities, right? I don't want to be resentful when I'm doing my seva. Nobody washed these pots. I'll do it. And then they'll see I'm the real devotee here, not them. No. Oh, Krishna's so kind. He's given me this service to do something for him. Oh, the devotees are so merciful. They've left me this, with love. Every day I will study Srimad Bhagavatam and other devotional literatures. Every day I will recite Gopi Geet, Venu Geet, Brahmara Geet, Yugali Geet. Prajnath told me that Gurudev had a sequence. Every morning when he would wake up, he would chant so many of these stavas and stutis, right? Not like us, oh, let me chant these, control my wicked mind, not be distracted by worldly thought. No, he would chant them with realization, with joy, pastimes within these beautiful verses coming to his heart, as Tridani Maharaj said, Sarasiki Upasana, right? And then I'll recite these. If I come across a Raisik Vaishnava, I'll give my life to serving him. I will visit the places where Sri Radha Krishna performed their confidential pastimes in the groves and forests of Braj. I will pray very piteously there and recite hymns and prayers that are full of longing. Then Sri Krishna will surely give me his darshan. He is not far away. So some are in Vrindavan doing this, some of us are far. But, right, what is that? Tishtan Vrajay Tad Anuragi Jananugami. We should be in Braj, serving those devotees who are perfected souls, the Tishtan Vrajay Tad Anuragi Jananugami, right? They are following themselves. They're externally, they're showing us a path and teaching us, and they're following internally Rupa Manjari, Rati Manjari. This means to follow persons like Raghunath Das and his meditations like in Vilap Kushmanjali of the internal pastimes, right? Those kind of jhana. We want to serve them. And if we can't be in Braj directly, we meditate on being in Braj. That's what we're trying to do here. So I'll stop here, a little bit over. And thank our moderators and our hosts for their beautiful efforts in putting all this together, sustaining this. Gurudev gave such blessings to devotees who would organize and sustain Harikatha. And to the audience, those who are listening. Without audience, how can there be Katha? Again, speaker and listener, right? Always two sides to the coin, right? And so we're going to go now and do our Guru Puja. But when I say old Nityananda looks like he's getting ready to sing. Yeah? Okay. So I thank you all. Gaur Premanande, Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Wonderful, Maharaj. So nice. Thank you so much for sharing so many sweet pastimes, some of which I don't believe I've heard before, but that's saying more about me than the pastimes. Yeah, wow. I just feel so inspired. Thank you so much. I was feeling, as you were speaking, I was feeling so grateful to you and Trinandi Maharaj and should Advaiti Maharaj and all the other speakers who are giving up their time to come and speak and share this wonderful guitar, you know, for a whole month. For a whole month is such a big commitment. I know we'll do thank yous as is tradition at the end of the month, but I was feeling very grateful as you were speaking that you have sacrificed your time, both of you, to come and be here with us so that us less fortunate souls can hear your guitar and hear about the pastimes and the
Actually, you
tattva.
got it wrong. We're the ones that have to be grateful because this gives meaning and purpose to our life, right? If we didn't have this opportunity, what are we going to do?
Okay, I'll be ungrateful then.
No, you can be grateful, but be grateful that you're so glorious and determined to help us in this way, right? Run. Haribo, Haribo. Jai Nityananda.
Haribol.
Haribo.
Haribol. Thank you so much. So here ends our beautiful, wonderful program. Just just earlier, someone said, I don't know if it was live, but someone said that I was emceeing tomorrow. I will be on the Zoom, but we're much more fortunate than that. Anuradha Didi will be emceeing tomorrow for the clarification. And now to end the program, it will be same time. Now to end the program, I will hand over to Nityananda Prabhu and Taruni Didi, who are going to sing for us. Jai.
Jai Haribol.
Hare Krishna.
So we're doing a repeat of the morning, but in the morning tune. So we're gonna be singing the Damodarastakam,
290.
the other tune. Page 290, yes, correct. Namamishwaram Sachidanandarupam Lasat Guranga Rajamanam Jashodari Olukalanamaram Pramanande Hari Hari Bol.
Jai, wonderful, amazing, so inspiring.
Beautiful.
Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhu bhaeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Om Rindai Tulasi Devyai Priyai Keshavasya Cha Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Satya Vatya.